Today we probe the upcoming budget, particularly in the areas of transportation and roads. We start with the controversial bushing program. We then look at the operations of the Jamaica Urban Transit Corporation. And finally, we look at some of the proposed capital projects in the budget of the Ministry of Transportation and evaluate whether they really make sense. What was extraordinary about this program was the exceptional speed with which we moved from cabinet decision to first payment. Outline that for us.
Documents coming to a committee that I chair, Infrastructure Committee, showed that the decision from cabinet was made on Wednesday the 16th of November. The contracts was signed with the 5 contractors on Friday the 18th of November. And 5 days after, on Wednesday the 23rd, the first payment of about 12 to 13% of the full contract sum was paid out to the contractors. But it is interesting to note that the contractor that did the work out in St. Mary and in Portland and St. Thomas, was paid 50% of the contract sum on his first bill.
5 days after cabinet
5 days after the cabinet approval.
We come from central Jamaica. I gather a major contract was given to one contractor for the parishes of St. Elizabeth, Manchester, and Clarendon. Talk to us about the political allocation of that money.
That contract was with Bill Wright Construction for $133 million. And out of that $133 million, they spent most in Clarendon, $100 million out of that 133 in Clarendon to work on wrestling the Clarendon Parish Council, and $22 million in St. Elizabeth to work towards winning the St. Elizabeth Parish Council. So the smallest portion of that amount was spent in Manchester.
Let's turn now to JUTC. The increase in the projected revenue, the revenues from fares, suggests that there will be at least a 20% increase in the fare table for the JUTC in this current year. Notwithstanding that, still looking at massive losses. Speak to us about the JUTC situation.
We've been asking the Minister of Transport, is it his intention, one, to run the JUTC to the ground? Is it his intention to keep it alive by going to the public for a fare increase? And both answers have been no. But if you look at this budget, 2017-18, there's no capital expenditure for new buses. There's about 200 buses that has been parked. In the 2016-17 budget, they spent about $1.5 billion in buying parts. In this budget coming 17-18, there's an additional 1.3 million, but it's an aging fleet. But they're expecting a 20% increase in the fare table, $1 billion extra in the fare table. The question is, are they going to go to the general public for a fare increase, or is it that they're going to run JUTC to the ground? Take a constituent of mine or yours who is going to school, say down in Mayday or even Cross Keys, would probably spend on a daily basis from Mandeville close to $600-700 full fare. Full economic cost. Now that mother or father is subsidizing those travelers in the KMTR. You know, the minister keeps speaking about this rural school bus system, and it was supposed to be rolled out in the 16-17 school year, but again is unable to because there are no buses. And this capital cost that it is going to cost the JUTC to replenish these buses within another year or two is something that the government will not be able to afford. So that mother and father out in Manchester or Clarendon is going to continue paying that full fare while they are going to be so.
Economic injustice. We know JUTC drivers don't have the best reputation. Many private vehicles have been in accidents with JUTC and they have no insurance. Tell us about the allocation to satisfy that in previous years versus the current year.
It's something that is of concern to us, the opposition, because when you look at the budget for 17-18, there's no allocation for that. There's zero allocation for damages. I think it was about $117 million that in the previous, in the 16-17. Now, if you look at what is owed to persons that are due damages, I think I'm not even sure if those who remember that bus crash in St. Anne. In St. Anne, I don't think they have been even compensated.
So already there are many years in arrears.
So when you are leaving out that figure, that means the government themselves has no interest in compensating no one.
So anybody who is in an accident in the current year or in previous years will have to wait at least another year
before they are compensated. Yeah. Another idea coming out of the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation of lengthening the runway at Ian Fleming's. Now, if you look at where they have to lengthen the runway, they would have to go to the sea, which would cost them billions of dollars. After spending between 07 and 11, spending close to $500 million to refurbish the Ian Fleming Airport, they have racked up losses of close to $50 to $70 million per annum in the airport.
So you're saying in order to generate $7 million, we're losing how much?
About 70.
What is it you would do that's not being done now?
To purchase some new buses and smaller buses for the hilly routes. The Chinese buses, West Rural, the East Rural, which were more economical, and putting in a viable rural transport system for just the things that we spoke about. Even for the school children at first, one that is reliable and safe for rural school children would be something that I would be putting a lot of emphasis on.
The bushing program is clearly shaping up to be a scandal. Stay tuned for the Contractor General's report on this area. Secondly, we examine the operations of the Jamaica Urban Transit Corporation. We got to do some repairs or else it's not going to be financially viable, and on top of it, it's not economic justice for the single mother in Manchester. Finally, does it make sense to spend nearly $1 billion on the Ian Fleming Airport that after spending the first $500 million is not generating even $7 million Jamaican dollars a year in revenues? You decide.